Well, good morning. You can take your seats, not too far, preferably within the room would be great. Great. I want to just start off this morning with a couple of quizzes. Nothing quite like a quiz to get you going and competitive. So, who can recite to me our mission statement? What is our mission as a church? Oh, well done. Awesome. And off the back of that, which feeds that in essence, what is the vision of freedom? Yeah. Yardy, yeah. Yeah. You know, you're never quite sure which order they're meant to come in, are you? That's it. The 5 R's. We aim to be a church that's relevant, real, relational, and ready to pursue God's purpose with relentless commitment. Well done. Now, why do I say that? Just to kind of hone in a little bit on where we are. You may remember that we mentioned those things right at the beginning of this year. And we're into now a 6-week series on the church, and which I think for us is going to be one of those markers in time for us in terms of some of the stuff we'll be sharing, and also understanding what it means to be church. Not this place, this thing that we do on a Sunday or if it's a midweek thing, but actually what is at the very heart and essence of being church, being the people of God. Because when we consider when Jesus, 2,000 years ago, when he left a bunch of 12 guys who kind of, didn't have it all together, he left effectively the mission of what he'd come to accomplish in their hands. And he gave them authority, commissioned them to go into all the world and make disciples, make followers of Jesus, create these communities. And we read through Acts what began to take place as they stepped into those things, as they met together, as they loved on one another, as they cared for one another, as they held to the teachings that Jesus had brought them through those 3 years. Suddenly, communities began to radically change. And it says people were being added to their number daily as their lives got transformed. As they came into a relationship with Jesus, they got invested into other people's lives. As we enter the second week, I want us to imagine for a minute, because there's some important stuff to share, but I want us to imagine for a second what could be accomplished. Okay, what can be accomplished if we, the people of God, just here at Freedom, ordinary people, but if we actually harnessed what God has placed in us, the skill sets that we have at our disposal, the desires in us, if we were to actually harness that, yoke that one to another, what could be accomplished in the kingdom of God here in Jersey? I mean, we see it on the sports field. We recognize, I like rugby. I recognize even at a local level, when Jersey Reds actually get it together, when they play in unison, when they act in conjunction as a real team, what they can do is quite amazing. And we can see that through the sports world. So many analogies through life which we can relate to in that. But I want to ask us that question as a church. What could it look like if we really, under God, if we really brought what we have? Essentially, all he says is bring yourself. But if we really bring ourselves, what could be accomplished here in Jersey and beyond? Can you imagine a church? Can you imagine a church that is so impacting, so loving in community? Now, that's nothing out of the ordinary in terms of what God has asked for. But can you imagine a community in Jersey that is loving in such a way, that is watching out, is reaching out to people in such a way that the rest of community stand up and take note? Why does that have to be only imagination? Does it? Who wants to be a part of a community? Because this is it. We can create a community. We can create a culture and a community that forms and that loves people in such a way. Who wants to be part of such a community? Because I do. I want to belong to a family, to be part of a group of people that are truly looking out for one another in the nuts and bolts, in the ups and downs of life, where actually this Jesus thing, Jesus sacrificing himself on a cross, being raised to life on the third day, means something in every day. Imagine a church where children are pleading with their parents to take them to church. Because my experience over the years has often been, not our kids, no, but can you imagine, why would that be so far-fetched? Is it not possible to have a culture, a group, a family, a people where kids are, I really want to be with those friends at church because of all the stuff they're involved in, all the stuff they're learning about Jesus, and all the stuff that they can be affiliated to. Why is that not possible? I believe it is possible. Imagine a church where teenagers love to go and they love bringing their friends. We need to break some of the models, because the reality in a lot of places, teenagers is like, well, if you can get them to church, and they're kind of really reticent to bring their mates because it's still one of those places like, well, they're going to feel really uncomfortable or whatever. But why not? Why can't we be a group of people who build church, a culture, a community where teenagers love coming and love bringing their friends and seeing them saved? Yeah? Why not? Who wants to be part of such a church? Who wants to say, I want to invest, I want to stand in the gap, I want to do all that I can to make that happen under God? A couple of you. That's awesome. Hopefully by the end we'll be more than two of you. Hopefully it's no further downhill from here. Imagine a church of committed people who don't just show up, who don't just go to this thing on a Sunday, this activity where we stand together, where we kind of sit in rows, and where when something's projected, we stand and we sing these amazing truths, and then we leave the building only to return a week later to sing some similar truths. But to imagine building church where those truths that we sing become so much a part of the fabric of who we are and the culture that we build, that people are attracted. When I read through Acts, what was happening was the lifestyle of the people of God was so attractive that people were drawn to it. It was always God's intent for the people of Israel to live in such a way that all the nations around them would be drawn to God. Why not the people of God today? I believe we can. It's not going to happen in 5 minutes, but I guess I want to put a stake in the ground and say, why not? Why not on our watch? Why can that not be the case? Let's go for it. Imagine a church that is so loving, so kind, so forgiving, so encompassing, so generous towards the community, not its own community, yes, its own, but to those outside of its own community. So generous, so loving, so compassionate that the press grab a hold of it and say, wow, have you seen, have you heard what's happening? Can we not be a part of building such a community? And here's the thing. If you love Jesus, if you're sitting here this morning and you love Jesus, here's the thing. We already have everything in us to do the things that I'm suggesting here. We have it. We have Him. We have all the resource that we need. just need to bring it together collectively, form this culture and community. There's a whole bunch of things. Imagine a place where you learn to live out truly what it is to be a follower of Jesus. So our vision, our aim, those 5 R's are really important. And in this second week of this 6-week series on the church, I want to bring us a little bit more of the story, in a sense, and fill out a little bit about what Mark shared last week. Who was here last week when Mark brought the prophecy? Okay, only looks like about half of you. If you weren't here, I encourage you really to go onto our website and listen to the sermon. It's about 25 minutes long. An amazing part, an amazing story that is brought, an amazing word as part of our ongoing story as a church. For those of you who don't know, Mark has been a friend of the church and the leadership for over 19 years. And he's no stranger to bringing a prophetic word right into the heart of what God is doing for us. And so that you understand a little bit of what I'm going to share this morning, I think it's really important that we understand some of the chronology to how this has happened in terms of the word that Mark brought and other stuff that has been going on in the background for us as a leadership. So back in when Mark was over in and around our 10th anniversary, right at the beginning of May, he said to John that he had a word brewing in him from the Lord. Didn't tell him anything, just said, and when the time is appropriate, I'll share it with you. So that was back in May. Now let's not forget that we have purchased this building, the old cinema, down the road called Freedom Center 7 years ago. And it's been our heart and desire that one day we'll make that home, because it's right in the heart of a community and so forth and so forth. So Mark has this word that is brewing in him from God. In June time, I took the opportunity to share with John and Tim and Stuart, senior leaders in the church, what has been burning in me for quite some time. And I took it to them, and we spoke about it in terms of, I said, look, my heart, my passion, the only thing that I see in terms of freedom into the future all revolves around Freedom Center. And I said, for me, it's about a move that we need to make early, not waiting however many more years until the building is in a place where we feel it's ready to take us in. That actually part of our journey, part of our growth, part of our story will be actually to transition through all those phases, and God will grow us in that process. And that was a great time. We spoke that through. We shared it with a couple of key individuals, particularly around kids' work and so forth, because what could that look like, moving everybody lock, stock, and barrel down to Freedom Center at this stage? What does it look like? Have we got the facility? Have we got the rooms available for all the kids' work? We have about 7 different areas, spaces that are needed to actually properly facilitate all the kids' work that happens within a church this size. So I'd done some of that exercise, brought that to the team, and said, I believe we have. So the latter part of June, so we were excited by this and sensing, I think God is maybe saying something here, that there was a real unity amongst our thinking as a leadership, that this should be the next step for us. But of course, the moment you mention transitioning all of us down to Freedom Center, let's be honest, there's a whole rack, there's a list of things we can think, well, how's that going to work? How's this going to work? What about this? Where are they going to go? How on earth are we going to arrange to do that? So those were things were on our mind also. So, fast forward a little bit, latter part of June, Mark senses that God has given him the full picture for this season of what he needs to share with us as a leadership. So I'm off to Australia to visit our daughter, and on the 6th of July, Mark sends to John the prophecy which he spoke from last week. Now, for us, in terms of some of the detail we've been speaking through, the nature of what Mark brought as part of that prophecy, a game of two halves. This is what you have been. It's like, the football match analogy which he used so powerfully. The second half is so complete. It's like a different team out there on the pitch from the first half. And his part of that message was that this, for us as a church, is a game of two halves. We have been in a time of preparation, and we're now going to be very quickly, urgently, there's a suddenness to the word that he brought, that we're going to be moving into a time of participation. When that word came to us, I think without question amongst us as a leadership, it was wow, this is an amazing word in terms of the chronology, the timing, some of the language that is used around the immediacy, and beginning to touch on the heart of what we've been dreaming of, being that place down at Freedom Center for so many years. The word that Mark brought wasn't directional for us. Okay, understand this. That prophecy that God was doing something over here, whilst we're thinking something over here, two independent bodies, he's brought that together. We've already confirmed that we think this is the right way forward. We get the email after that. It's confirmatory to what God has been doing amongst. I think God deserves a round of applause, because for me that's an exciting moment. That God is confirming to us, in us, amongst us, with us, saying, Are you ready? Are you up for? Are you in the game? Because this second half is going to be way, way different from the first half. I'm going to stretch you. I'm going to mold you. I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to get you doing things that you never thought possible. Those of you who have been doing, some of us will have to step aside from different things. Some of the analogies he brought were quite powerful. But what's really super exciting for me is that God is in this. He's brought it via a third party, a trusted third party. He's been doing it in us. Now this has come as a confirmatory process to us. And I am just super, super excited. Because you see, the last sentence within our vision statement, ready to pursue God's purpose with relentless commitment, means something. So here we are on the precipice, about to step into something super exciting. Can you imagine Joshua and the people of Israel about to step into something that they knew very little about, but God had promised them that he was with them and he'd go before them. Church, I want us to understand and to be excited that for us, Freedom Center has been a project for 7 years. It's now a clean project, but it is now going to become our home soon. We are celebrating that this is a gigantic step for us. Now, I know, because you're a bunch of clever people in the room, that if I could see the cogs spinning, there'd be lots spinning right now. And people are thinking, well, how's this going to happen? When's that going to happen? And because and how's that going to be possible? And what about little Johnny and so forth and so forth? And how are we going to do coffee? And what's the meat? Because this room is bigger than what we currently have. What does that mean for a Sunday morning? So you're right. You're right there. Well done. There are a lot of things, a lot of questions. But for us, what is important is God is saying, now's the time. to go, and I'm going to open up the opportunities. I'm going to make the way possible for that to happen. We know that there are spaces enough. We can't give exact time frames to this at the minute. But on the 15th of October, we have a church meeting where hopefully at that point we'll be able to give a lot more information and planning. We've got plans drawn up for some of those areas and so forth. Some of the details yet to be finalized and worked through. Some of the detail, when we get the 15th, the meeting on the 15th, bring on your questions. But I'm telling you now, there's going to be, not sure yet, but this is the next move. We are heading down to Freedom Center soon. And I'm super excited for that. I don't know if you've ever watched some of those extreme makeover programs. I love them. From a building background, I love them. Anyone else? Anyone else with me? Oh, good. So hopefully you're going to really get this then. Extreme makeover. I mean, okay, it's funny, isn't it? Because you take some individual. I mean, and there's so many different varieties of these kind of programs, so many of them. But they have kind of levels of expectation of what they hope, and the designers and the team are sort of trying to extract from them what is it you would like and what is it you wouldn't like. Then you get other people saying, just do what you want. Just do, surprise us, and so forth. And some of them, they knock certain things down, they tear some things down, or they leave the structures exactly as is, but with completely refurnishing, redecorating, re-landscaping, all total makeover with a completely new look, new feel, that when the people come in, it's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this is the same place. I can't urge you enough. It's not for me to go into the detail of what Mark was saying, but I can't urge you enough to go back and revisit his preach from last week, to listen and to ponder and to pause over some of the things, the challenges, he says, that God will bring to us in this next phase. That we will be stretched, and all of these things are going to be part of that process. It's in John 15, it talks about the pruning of stuff that is good, in order for, because we don't want good to be the enemy of best. And that there's stuff that we're doing which is great and good. I don't know what any of those things look like currently, but I'm excited that God is in this next move. And in terms of some of the words that Mark brought around what that's going to mean for us, the new look and the new feel around community, I believe that first will start with us as a community. Because what it gives us is the opportunity of now making Freedom Center our home. Because we don't have a home currently. We meet in this facility, and it's been an amazing blessing of God over all of these years. But now to be able to take ownership and live in and dream and work in all the areas that we're engaged in is going to be, I'm super excited. Did anyone gather that there's just a tad of excitement around that? But what that means, not only for the people of God, but what that means for the community to which He's called us. And I'm talking community as in Jersey, the island of Jersey, but also those in the close proximity, that there is a feel, that there is a way of living, that there's a culture about the way we do church, that people are, hey, why not dream? What about people queuing to get into church? Well, you were kind of half there. I mean, you go to a show in London, given start time, people are queuing around the block. They already know what seat number it is. They're just queuing to get in. Why? It's not inconceivable. I have been to churches where people are queuing around the block to get in. Well, dare we dream? To believe that God is doing something so miraculous in the culture that he's forming, in the heart that he's forming, in the desire to love one another and to love our community, that in the midst of that place, people would queue to get in. Can you think about the multiple services that could be necessary because, we're full? Hey, who wants to be on the door first time round when you have to say to someone, sorry, we're full. If you come back in an hour and a half, we'll have the next version. We'll probably squeeze them in if there's a couple, but super excited for this next season of what we believe God is bringing to us. A couple of things as we close. As part of that extreme makeover and tying in with, because often those makeovers happen by another team. You know, they bring in the experts and all those tradesmen, retailers within a local community say, we want to do this for this family. Well, the word that Mark brought, and it's not just the word that Mark brought, but it was very apparent in the word that he brought, that it's essential for us to take ownership of it, that we opt in to participation. Participation means participating, funnily enough. So we've got an option here to actually purposefully, intentionally say, I'm in. I want to be a part of this. So we're not looking for experts. We're looking for people like those in the makeover, people in the community, ordinary individuals running a business, ordinary individuals who are retailers are saying, we want to do this thing for these people. As a church, I believe if we can catch the heart of this, we can say, as a church, I'm in. I am participating in the life and in the heart of Freedom Church because I not only want the people who I call family to really feel it, I want our community to really feel it. That this Jesus is real. I want to be part of the makeover of church that is so radically different, that presents something so fundamentally different in the eyes of our community that they are like, wow, we never thought church could be that like that. Hey? And none of you sitting here needs to think, oh, well, I wonder who will get in to do that. I'm looking at them. This is it. This is it. Here is the raw material. Here is the raw material, and the catalyst, Jesus, already lives in you. It's a decision on our part. Church, we are up for this. We're going to rock that building down there in such a way that the community cannot help but stand up and listen, and it is all for the glory of Jesus, to make his name famous, to bring a reality of Jesus. So, that's a great response, but don't think you're going to get away with it for a little clap. I'm serious. You know, in the moment, that's easy win. You know, and I thank you for that. I'm not looking for that, but that's great. But in the weeks and in the months and through next year, I say no time frames at the minute. I want that clap to say, I'm there. I'll be there. I'll be serving. I'll be helping out. I'll be picking up. I'll go and visit. I'll cook that meal. I'll go pray for that person. I'll go visit. I'm going to serve on this team. Yeah. We've just clapped it in. You're part of that. You clapped yourself into the team. Right there. In a minute, after over coffee, we've got time. The marketplace. I just encourage you, these are just some of the areas in which we're already involved and invested in as church. Please, go around. Every one of those teams is saying, please come, work with us, support us, stand with us, serve on our team. I encourage you to do that. But I'm going to ask you, as by way of invitation now, before Ian comes up. In terms of what's been brought to us as a leadership, we're fully behind this. What Mark has brought, how it's embedded into the whole season of the series on the church. The word we've brought this morning. I want to invite you. If you're sitting here this morning and saying, I want to be part of that church. I want to say I'm in. But listen carefully. If you're saying I'm in, you're saying you're in. Okay? You're saying you're in. I'm in. I'm going to serve. I'm going to do what it takes to be a part of that community which I want. If that's you this morning, will you stand with me and say, I'm there? I want to be part of that. I want to be part of that people. Father, I thank you for the fact that your hand is over all of this. That you have led us on this journey, and Lord, we are excited. But Lord, there's an element by which we're not quite sure what we're asking for. But we do know this morning that you promised to lead us, to go before us, to be around us. And so we step forward with confidence. And Lord, I pray every person in this room who has said this morning, who's declared, I'm in by standing. Lord, that won't be just a polite clap now, but then in the months to come, there'll be that growing, yearning desire to say, I am in, because I want to be a part of creating that which I want to see. So thank you. Lord, I pray you'd not allow us to forget this moment and its significance. Lord, thank you. In humility, we thank you that you're on our case and that you're in this journey. We bless you in Jesus' name. Amen.